And the biggest part is no one else does that. Plan your work, then work your plan. Right? Plan your work, then work your plan. If you don't know where you're going, then how are you going to get there? Right? How are you going to build that plan to get there?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Minority Mind Podcast. I'm here today with Caleb. Caleb is a business owner, young professional, which is why I have him on today on the Young Professional segment. I appreciate you guys tuning in. But Caleb, I really wanted you to introduce yourself to everybody because you are very impressive. Surprisingly, we grew up very close to each other and didn't know it until recently. So, yeah, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I'm a 22-year-old entrepreneur. Always had that entrepreneur bug since I was a little kid, from mowing lawns to shoveling driveways to washing cars to picking, landscaping, whatever it was, selling candy at school. Sometimes you got in trouble by the teachers, but it is what it is. It's what made me who I am today. So, but yeah, always been an entrepreneur. Started a company with my brother when we were 13 and 15. And I know we'll get probably into that a little bit more, but, scaled that from 0 to now multiple 6 figures, almost 7 figures.
That's amazing, man. And yeah, you're right about that early entrepreneurial spirit. I remember selling Smarties out of my locker as a kid. Like, it was so interesting because you used to be able to buy the bag of Smarties for like $3, and I used to sell each Smartie for like 25 cents. Man, crazy profitable.
So crazy
profitable. But that's amazing. So, getting into starting your company, what was I would say the catalyst of, you growing up? What made you originally start the company? Because I'm sure that'll really help the audience get to know more about who you are.
Yeah, so my company, Brothers Sprouted Nuts. Me and my brother started. My younger brother. He was 13, I was 15. In 2010, initially, we were like 6 and 8 at the time. Our father diagnosed stage 4 brain cancer, given about 7 weeks to live. And the doctor said it's a 1 in a million shot. You got 7 weeks. Good luck. And so he said, all right, you're giving me no hope. You're giving me no shot. Watch what I'll do. And so he went a little different route than the traditional route. And so those 7 weeks actually turned into 7 years. And that was just from the foods he was eating, the protocols, the procedures, all the above that he was doing. And one of the biggest things was the way he had to switch the way he was eating, right? He was a chiropractor. Our family was eating healthier than 99% of people, before the cancer diagnosis. But once that came, it went to another level. And so one of the hardest things for him was a snack that was not only healthy, but that was super, super tasty. Because the healthy stuff tastes like crap. And then the stuff that tastes amazing is so bad for your body. And so what our mom started making just in our kitchen in the house was these snacks. They were all organic. They were gluten-free, dairy-free, you name it, but they tasted amazing. And so that was his snack. He was eating them. And so me and my brother, once 2017 came, he passed away because cancer came back more vigorous than before. And so when that happened, me and my brother still, 13, 15, high school and middle school at the time, we're like, okay, let's take this step back and turn it into a setup. And so for the next, 6 years after that, through high school and the first couple of years of college, we were selling to family, friends, farmers markets. That's about it, right? It was more of a hobby and not a company. But over the past year and a half, scaling, actually adding, people onto our team, having our own manufacturing facility, being in 150 plus stores now, treating it as a real business and, employing people and impacting people is what we've started to do here in the past year and a half.
That's amazing. And that's a really amazing story of resilience. Everything you've been through to be able to turn that, like you said, the setback into a setup.
Yep.
I want to hit on the resilience part of that story because I know a lot of people, we're faced with obstacles in our lives, and then ultimately you're left with that choice. What do you do after such a huge emotional, I'm sure like financial, just this huge burden of life that happens to all of us at one point or another, happens to you very young. How do you get that resilience built into you and your brothers? Just how do you build that resilience in you? Or like, who was in your ear? Just really, who got you to get to the point where you were able to make that mature decision at a young age to be resilient in that situation?
It's got to be the way I grew up, just from the very start, how my parents raised us. It's all from the start. Why did I start mowing lawns or, selling candy at school? It was just, I grew up in an entrepreneur family with my dad running, multiple chiropractic offices, around the country. That's all I saw. That's all I knew growing up. And so before, when I was little, I don't think I've ever said this before, but when I was little, our mom and dad, probably 5, 6, 7 years old, putting us to sleep. And one of the things they would say is, our affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
I am strong. I am healthy. I'm fast. I'm the smartest, every single night. And so just starting that at, the age of 5, 6, whenever it was, when I was a little kid, it just prepared me. It was prepared us to be put in that right position when anything happened. Set back, take into a setup. So I got to give probably credit to my parents.
That's huge. I mean, starting affirmations that young is amazing.
Yeah.
I got into affirmations around the age of like 10 or so. Mm-hmm. Like something I found myself by researching psychology, because I've been obsessed with psychology for a very long time now. Affirmations are huge, and to have parents that instill affirmations into you like that. And we're talking about, like, I'm sure your parents are older, so being, before technology, like finding out that's really great. Like, that's really good that they got you started with such a great habit so early. But that's amazing. So now with this added responsibility of a company, not just a hobby, but a company, I'm sure there's times in which there's more work to do. You're definitely doing more work than a lot more people, and the more work when you first get into it, sometimes it can be stressful because you're adapting. You're adapting to the new needs of your situation. How has it been adapting to the stress of now going from hobby to company in retail stores? How does that go from, I'm a high school kid to now I'm an adult, young adult, but I am running a very successful company?
Yeah, we're just getting started on top of it. We're just getting started. But, to go back, to answer your question, I've prayed for this, right? I'm a Christian. I'll say it right now, I'm a Christian. And, growing up, right? Or not growing up, but just I pray, over the past, 2 years, I prayed, God, put me in the right position. Put me at the right time. Put the right people. Put the right opportunities in front of me, But if you think about it, if all that stuff's going to happen, it's not going to be easy, right? So, I've asked for this. Like, I've literally prayed and asked for this. And so, the hard times, the tough times, the work that needs to go in, to it to make it happen, I've been asking for it. I've been praying for it. And so, when this hard work has to be done, I'm like, all right, well, I prayed for it, like he's, I prayed for it and he's given me, what I've prayed for. So it's just actually, understanding, that anything good in your life just doesn't come easy. And if it does come easy, then it goes easy. Think about a lottery, the lottery winners, they win the lottery, a bunch of money, and they don't understand how to financially, manage it. They lose it. You see all the stories. They lose it 2 years later or 5 years later. And so that's the same thing. I've asked for this. I've prayed for this, and he's preparing me for what's next.
That's huge. Preparation and patience. Patience for something that is a big responsibility. Making sure that you are, patient with what you do, and know that if you ask for something that's, a big outcome, then you have big responsibility, big task ahead of you if you're going to ask and pray for something like that. And big on the faith. I'm really big on I love talking about faith, because that's a huge part of who I am, huge part of how I was raised. Might not have necessarily always been as close as I am now, but definitely a huge part of why I do what I do. But when we get into these positions where we have these added responsibilities, in order to get there, we have to learn a few things. The curriculum or the foundation of that I've found out is mostly around, mindset of how you think, habits, how you behave, the skills you have, and then the networking side of like connecting with people on a deeper level. How would you say that, moving away from the resilience mindset, how would you say that your habits have come into play? Like, what habits do you hold dear, other than affirmations? We did hit on those, that you hold dear, because I'm sure you have to have some sort of you time. Even just if it's something small that you do to kind of recenter yourself in terms of when you're working to transition into other things that you're doing. What habits do you have to bring yourself back to earth, per se, and also things that you do to continually grow, habits that help you grow as well as maintain what you already have?
Yeah. On the growing, the personal development side, reading, but it's not just reading and reading and reading. I'll read the same book. Like, I just finished Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. Just sold his company at Amazon for over $1 billion. And so I didn't just read it once. Now I just read it once, and now I'm listening to it again. And so instead of reading 100 books, reading 10 books and actually learning and applying, because it's the biggest thing. Like, in scripture, right? I'm reading and then I just read and read and read, but I don't apply, it's useless. And same thing with my book. So that's how I'm growing, personally. How do I get away, right? Because as you know, in our business, we could be doing something pretty much 24/7. We either talking to someone, in the middle of the day, or sending emails at night, or strategizing or getting stuff ready for preparing for the next day, 24/7. There's not enough time to do everything we need to do. And so one of the biggest things, for me to relax, because I honestly, if I go we go somewhere, with my family, with my girl, wherever, I like to work. I like to work.
Yeah.
Honestly, it makes me feel happier and better. And so when it is, that time, or I need that time, it's usually, dinner, lunch, food with my girlfriend, my family, whoever it is that kind of resting, relaxing spot.
I relate to that so much. My girlfriend is definitely that for me as well. Definitely the relaxation. But like you said, love working. Like I don't. It's interesting because some people say not to take advice from people that you that aren't in the position you want to be in, and sometimes I really feel that because people that don't necessarily have the same joy with what they do want you to take a break or not necessarily be as quick with what you're doing.
Because that's what they want to do, right. But that's not what I wanted. That's not what you want to do, and so that's how you mentally all right, maybe I don't have to do that, or maybe I'm in the wrong. No, that's what they want, not what you want or what I want.
Right, your habits have to be in alignment with your goals, and it's huge with what you said. Having the time to work. I'm curious because I've actually talked to many people lately who are relatively successful in what they're doing, and I'm curious because the topic of sleep is something that's been very on my mind for a while. I've researched it. I'm a psychology nerd, so I'm really big on the brain, and there's people that say there's a lot of studies that go back and point to the necessary minimum 7 hours of sleep. But I do know so many people that do not get that are on the offensive right now. They're growing, they're building. And I'm curious on what your take is on sleep, rest. What is your take on that as you grow in the company and taking on the responsibilities that you have?
Yeah. So, I don't go in as much depth as you do, but, that's it, 7 to 8 hours, and for some, women, 8 to 9 hours, depending on, time of the month. And so it's crucial, right? The sleep is crucial for recovery, health, all of the above. The best thing I heard was Patrick David, and he talked about, there's seasons in your life. So the mom who just had her firstborn child, she wants to sleep. But in the middle of the night when her baby's crying, she's up, she wants to eat, she wants her diaper changed. Guess what? You have to be up. Even though she wants to sleep, it doesn't matter. That's the season of your life. Someone, serving our country, right, overseas, they want to sleep, but guess what? The time of their life, they can't sleep, or they might, they literally might die. And so it's really the time of your life. There's going to be seasons in your life where you're not going to get that 7 to 8 hours. You're going to get 5 to 6 or whatever it is. And so I think it's just seasons of your life and what season you have to understand what season you're going through. And then you can base off, your surroundings. This season, maybe I'm not going to see, my family as much because I'm growing or building this company or whatever it is. It's just a season in your life, and understanding that, I think, is the biggest part.
That's a great take. Patrick Davis, good guy. I listen to him a lot. Watched a lot of his content growing up, actually, because he had not only business content, but he also had content on personal development, and I've just been researching that, and learning from people for a long time. But that's huge. In terms of the connecting portion, man, because those are some really good habits in terms of making sure you prioritize sleep and understanding what season you're in. That's huge. But in terms of connecting, because a lot of the stuff that we do is related to connection, no matter what, whether it's, what position you've been in because of the family and the people that's touched you, or the people that you've connected with intentionally to get where you want to go. What do you feel that one of the differentiators that help you connect in a deep, effective way with people to, whether it's grow your business, grow your personal connections, relationships, just how have you learned to communicate and just connect with people on a deeper level?
I think it comes from actually caring. I think that'd be the biggest part. I had a meeting earlier today, one of the stores that, we're partnered with, and one of the store managers, store directors, heads the entire store. And I asked her, Dunkin' or Starbucks, and she's like, Dunkin', and she's, wondering why. I'm like, well, what do you want? Because I'm going out, I'm grabbing you, your favorite drink. And she's like, she said her drink, and she was just shocked because no one else does it. No one else that, this, they come into the store. Oh, what, check mark. Oh, yeah, we'll get this dropped off. All right. See you next week. Instead, I'm coming in getting her something because I care, right? I care about her store, our partnership with them, because it means a lot to us and our company. And so I think, communicating that way, or starting to communicate from that caring aspect and actually carrying on what you're doing, what you're building, who you're talking with is the biggest thing.
That's huge, and the action behind that care is huge as well,
Mm-hmm.
because the small action behind it it seems like above and beyond based on what other people would do. So that simple gesture of asking what coffee they preferred and getting it for them, that goes the extra mile.
And it's just an easy way to separate yourself. Like there's that Dana White video where he goes, "This is the easiest time, if you're some part, partial savage, you'll run everyone else over."
Yeah.
And it's so easy to separate yourself. The coffee cost me $4. You know what I mean? But that will stick in her mind for, I don't even know how long. For definitely the rest of this year, I'm hoping so. And so it's just the simple stuff to separate yourself, to be like, oh man, why is he doing this? Why is their company doing this? All right, they're helping me. They're taking care of me. Let me take care of them.
Yeah. That's huge. Separating yourself and standing out in a positive way. That's something I'm a big proponent of, especially when it comes to how you think. I'm a big proponent of your mindset, and how you think is the beginning, the foundation of everything. There's so many different ways to think in an ineffective way, at least towards outcome. I'm really outcome based because there's behavioral psychology, there's moralistic psychology. I'm big in the behavior psychology because you behave to get certain outcomes. So I focus on how your behaviors lead to your outcomes. And when it comes to how you think, you can have very ineffective thought processes and way of thinking that leads you to not behave a certain way, which leads you to not get what you want. And when it comes down to what we were just talking about, connecting in a deep way, if you are very selfish in your connection, if you don't think about other people, what you're doing right now, I mean, the product that you guys came up with served a need. And ultimately, it served a much greater need than just the initial purpose of the family situation where you needed to get more healthy. You solved the problem for someone very specific, but ultimately, this product serves a way wider audience, which is why you're doing so well, which is great. But yeah, so getting back to like talking about growing up and things like that, how do you feel? Because I really like getting a little bit in current events. Current events, we're in an interesting time in the world. We're young. We're learning about the world as things are happening, just like everyone else does. I like to relate everyone to big kids. Our parents are just big kids that left their parents' house and then figured it out themselves too. So when it comes down to the state of like the world right now in the United States, we're coming up on election time. There's been so much divide. I'm a big proponent of like, I don't like division. I don't like division much at all, because I feel like we get a lot more done when we're working together as, humans, whether it's me and you collaborate on this podcast or just anybody. I don't like division. I believe that we can have different opinions and still get along. And it seems to be such a weird concept to some people today. How do you feel about the current landscape of division that seems to be like perpetuated? You think it's just a social media thing, or like a greater issue with like people kind of changing and being more divided?
I think social media has, magnified it to a different scale, 100%. I think of my siblings, my younger siblings, like they know stuff now, because I'm not old, right? I'm 22. But like when I was in, middle school, high school, like the stuff that they're like talking about, I'm like, I didn't know what that meant. I have no idea what you're talking about, at the time. So I think social media definitely has a big, magnifier of this. But yeah, surrounding yourself, it's like an echo chamber. Yeah, you surround yourself with, if I agree with you on, ABC, and that's all I talk to you about, but I don't, talk to someone that doesn't agree with it, it's just an echo chamber. We're just going back and forth. Right. And so it's actually, surrounding yourself with people, living in the United States, built on capitalism, right? And then a big part of it, debate, like debating each other, in a nice, playful, helpful, informative way, I think is crucial. And I don't think it's happening enough. I literally took debate class during high school speech team just to get better at it. So I think we definitely need to come together, work together. But I think social media, a lot of positives, but at the same time, anything positive, there's there's always a negative.
Yeah, that is a huge thing. Echo chambers. We do kind of surround ourselves with people that believe what we believe, because like followers, like you literally are following people that you like. You're not going to someone's page you don't like and following them and saying, you know what, I'm going to listen to what they have to say. Like, no,
Yep.
we are purposely, it's kind of social media. I look at them like global, like big psych studies, like big studies of psychology, human psychology. You see how we would much rather prefer to be around the people that we like. Ultimately, I would say in the past, when we were less connected in such an easy way, we were more likely to go ahead and talk to people who had differentiating views. Because if you weren't around like a bunch of people who agree with you, I mean, what were you going to do? Or were you just going to stay and be like an outcast? No, most people just learn that, hey, this person doesn't agree with me on that, but we can still be cool. Today, people there are people that are recluses, especially our generation. Some of us don't even know how to communicate properly. Like, they can't even have a conversation about anything, I would say, meaningful. At least they would stay so stuck in the drama of social media. We can't get into like the weeds of realizing like we're all just human. We're all just human at the base of everything. So that is huge. Speaking on the echo chambers and just information, when we are engaging in the acquiring information, that's a huge part in learning new things. We have to learn things, but we also have to take action, like you pointed out. What do you do that helps you be more execution oriented when you're trying to learn something? Because that is a huge thing for people. Like I was a victim of that myself, understanding that for a long time. It's easy to get into like dopamine, like the dopamine seeking, just constantly new information, but you do have to act, because without execution, you can't get real world feedback. Without real world feedback, you're just playing with theory. So how do you do better with making sure that you execute? What is something, maybe a mental framework or just something you've done to help you get better at executing?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why college right now, more and more people are, rates are just dropping, enrollment rates and graduation rates, is because of that. It's all theory and, if this happens, or step 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you know, in real life, it's step 4, 2, 1, 3, 4. It's completely different. And so, how do I, apply? It's like I said, I'm starting, because I was in the same spot you were. I would just read a book, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. I'm like, and then my stepdad's like, "That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you read, 12 books or whatever it was, a book a month or whatever I was doing. What changed? What'd you apply?" I'm like, I don't know. I liked when I read them, but he's like, so the business went from, this was a couple of years ago. He's like, business went from, X amount to, no increase, or it stayed the same. But you read all these books, all these sales books. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, you're right. And so I was like, okay, so what I'm starting to do, and I'm trying to do more, is anytime I'm reading, I have a note card, and I'm taking notes on, the front and the back, depending on the book. And so some of the biggest takeaways, biggest points, I'll highlight them, underline them, and apply them. And then like I said at the start, I'm trying to just read the same book over, and then just because I read the book last week, or listened to the book last week. I'm through the first couple chapters again this week, and I'm already like, I don't even remember him saying that last week. So it's just, and that was a week ago, and so just jotting them down and applying them, trying to apply them instead of just one after another is something I'm trying to apply, and I'm trying to get better at.
That's big, and I asked you that because I figured you had that conclusion as well, and that's what I came to, is like slowing down the acquisition of knowledge. Like, I believe that since we have such an easy way to acquire it, like our parents or before, they had to actually sit down, read a book, like actually sit and read the book and take notes in the margin. And sometimes we could literally hop on an audiobook, even if you're like really big into acquiring knowledge, like we are, like we can hop on an audiobook. We can watch this YouTube video, and it's like you can overconsume information without the acquiring of it. So taking that slow down, just slowing down, retaining the information you learned and executing it, and then moving on to the next. That was huge, because it's so easy to just keep like engaging in the consumption of information that doesn't even do anything for your life, like at all.
And I would say, if you're reading a book, let's say, or listen to a YouTube video, take one thing. Just start off small. Take one thing and apply it. That's it. Now, don't take 100 things. Don't take 10 things. One thing and apply it. And then maybe on the next one, take 2 things and apply it. Makes it an easy way to break it down, an easy way to apply it in your life, I would say.
That's huge, and I would say that for sure, because even with real estate, which is big in like what I'm in, I like rental property. I love that, and it's funny because there's simple videos on YouTube right now. I'll tell you every single step, and the unfortunate part is that you'll like watch step 1, 2, and 3, watch the video and not do anything. But like you really need to do step 1, because you're gonna fail after step 1 and realize you have to go back, rewatch it, do step 1 again, and then you go to step 2, and then there's something you need to learn there. And it's like you said, you don't start. It's not like a 1, 2, 3 system. It really is like a 3. Oh, back to 1. I forgot this. Go to 2. Oh, I forgot something else at 1, and now I gotta get back to step 3. Now it's done. Cool. But you're right. Knowledge in real life doesn't go in this straight path of theory. You really do have to learn how to adapt on the fly and just, take the punches as they come and really learn how to adapt.
And I kind of wish you went in that straight. There's a 1, 2, 3, because it would be easy.
It would be easy.
You could just follow it along, nice and easy. But that's not life.
Yeah, it would be easy. Step by step way of starting a business. Everyone starts a business and it's just automatically successful. You have the marketing SOP, you have everything just right there for you. And no matter what, the Facebook ads or none of that stuff ever changes. Literally, you just click these buttons every time and get money in your account. That would be so insane. Sign me up. But let's get into a little bit of the faith. I like talking about the faith side of things. When it comes down to growing and having faith, I believe that there's just so many lessons in the Bible. Like I literally get up every morning now and read the Bible. The biggest thing that I have noticed is that with the acquiring of knowledge, in order for it to translate into behavior, you have to really resonate and really hold it dear and true and realize that it is something that is true. For example, our parents will sometimes tell us lessons when we're young, but we don't necessarily hold those lessons to heart unless we can really relate to it, or we go through something that forces us to realize how true it was. And in the Bible, there's so many lessons like that. There's so many lessons where if you listen and heed warning, you won't have to experience the downfall of things. For example, the Bible talks a lot about sexual immorality, or they talk a lot about not lying. And on the surface, people will be like, oh yeah, little white lie here. Oh yeah, it doesn't matter who I sleep with and things like that. But unfortunately, the precautions and the lessons, fortunately, the caution and the lessons that we learn are to prevent the mistakes that happen from the abusive behaviors. The abuse of those behaviors lead down a path of like terrible things happening. You're trying to prevent something by not allowing it to be okay at all, so that you don't fall down those terrible paths. That lying gets you down, sexual immorality gets you down. We know the consequences that come along with that. How do you feel you can communicate in a better way to get people to understand at the core that these lessons are true? I ask this because I'm really big on trying to communicate in a better way to people so that they can avoid the mistakes that we made. Like, we've obviously got some mistakes we made we could easily help people avoid, but unless they take that to heart and be like, oh man, that's true. Without the experience, some people really only rely on their experience and they'll learn it the hard way. Do you think there's a way around it? Do you think there's a way to be better at communicating it? And if so, how?
I think there's a way around it. That's why, having a mentor that's done, like we talked about a little bit ago, like if you want a 6-pack, you're not going to listen to the guy that's overweight in the gym. You're going to listen to the guy that's got, huge biceps, that's got a 6-pack. It's just how it is. And so, yeah, having that person around you that's kind of been where you're at already or where you want to be at and listening to them, it's huge, right? The 5 closest people you surround yourself are kind of who you become. And that's not only your friends, but that is also, the mentors or, who's above you, who you're listening to. So I think it's huge on that part. And then how to, communicating, because when I grew up, your mom or dad says, oh, be careful or do this or focus on this, or you're like, oh, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. But then, or they'll say like, one of the big things was like in high school, stop trying to impress anyone. You're probably not even going to know them, talk to them, 2 years after, high school or anything like that. And so it was like, but at the moment you're like, what are you talking about? This is my friend forever.
Right.
But then now after getting out of high school, finishing up college, I'm like, I don't talk to anyone, any of those people. But at the time, it's like oh my gosh, like what are you? You're so wrong. So I would think I think the biggest thing is actually understanding because your parents have been through that before, right? They were in the high school, they were in your shoes, and so listening and understanding and being like, all right, maybe they are right. Maybe they will be right, maybe they won't be right. Most of the time they are. And I think just actually understanding that they've been in your shoes before, so listening to them definitely helps.
That's huge. It takes you to like kind of diminish your ego a bit. As a kid, we grow up very egocentric. I talk about this all the time with child psychology. I mean, we develop egocentric, only worried about our needs because we literally come out. It's food, warmth, comfort. Literally, we're only focused on our needs, and then we slowly develop. Our brains develop to actually put ourselves in other people's shoes. And with mentorship, you're 100% right. I mean, my first mentor was the reason I got into real estate so early, and he was like, guy literally had owned his first property since he was 18. I was like, oh yeah, this guy has done it like since he was 18, so I tried to do it at 18. Started at step 1. Found out I didn't know something. A rule had changed since he was 18. He's 60, 60s now. So I was like, okay, now I gotta go back to the drawing board, try it again at 19. Ultimately was able to purchase it at that time. But it's like, there's very like, you have to understand people, like, you duplicate before you iterate. Like, that's why we acquire knowledge. That's why we read books. We duplicate the knowledge someone else has been through. They've been in a situation we're in now. We duplicate, and then upon duplication, once we see those results, we can iterate. I feel we try to iterate and change so much before we even duplicate, and a lot of times it's just because of ego. We can sometimes think we know more, things have changed so much, but in reality, I mean, things have changed, but it's not like, especially with our closest family, especially if you have a good family, they're not going to lead you astray. A lot of times they're just really looking out for the best for you, and even if they did take a hard lesson and kind of morphed it because it affected them like very deeply, you can duplicate, learn, and then iterate on your own. So that's huge. I really want to talk a little bit more on Brothers Nuts because I definitely think that what you guys are doing, I'm looking forward to see you guys continue to grow with everything you guys are doing. How does the iteration come along with products? I know you guys have the different flavors and everything like that. How does that come to be? Do you guys test it yourselves? You have people try it out with you? Like, how does that come to be once they get to the shelf?
Yeah, so it's a little, it's a lot of work behind the scenes. So me and my brother, we have our mom on our team. She's our CFO, Chief Flavor Officer. It's a little, different than everyone else, but we have her on our team because we understand. So she's, made all the flavors that we have so far. She's the one that's her idea, her thought process. And the biggest thing is she's our ideal customer, right? That's, the person who's buying the food, the snacks for the house, for the kids, whoever, that's our ideal customer because that's what we are and that's who she is. And so if she likes it, more than likely, other moms and other families, other people are gonna like it. And so going that point, so and then to get feedback before, like one of the flavors I know I'm giving you after we get off this podcast is, we're in test trial right now. And so what we're doing is we had, I think 500, those small test bags, and all the orders that are coming in, we're throwing the test bag in. And so we can get people's feedback, through text, call, email, whatever, letting us know we like it, we don't like it, I would add this, change this. And so we're already, capturing the market or what the market wants. And we're like, would you buy this if we had this? And if everyone says no, maybe we're not, probably not going to do it. So it's really, that's what we're doing right now with a new possible flavor that's coming out.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to trying that. Also, I know I'm getting real specialized knowledge because business stuff, nerdy. I'm nerdy about this business stuff. I'm big into marketing. Marketing is huge, and I know you have your ideal customer as your mom, so literally, that avatar, that marketed avatar, you literally have her right here, which is amazing. But when it comes down to, like, actually, so you have the distribution, you're able to get into the retail stores and actually move the product through, a big chain of retail stores. When you get the product in a store and you realize that people actually like the product and they continue selling it, the retailer continue purchasing, giving you better placements, things like that. When it comes down to expansion, because you have the retail stores you're located in now, in terms of future, when you look at growth and you're thinking of, okay, how are we going to do in the future? Big retailers, I heard that they hold a lot more power, at least in terms of what they are willing to do for you. When you're a smaller fish, you don't necessarily have connections already. Like you know how people go on Shark Tank. You know they want David John or Mark Cuban on their team so they can easily get in these big retail stores. How do you think about that long term? Like obviously you may not be there right now, but in the future I can see this definitely like going to Walmart, seeing Brothers Nuts. I would go. I'm gonna be so excited. I'm gonna just speak that in existence right now. I'm gonna be excited when I see that. How do you think about that long term? Like, are you actively trying to build relationships? You know, be that person that gives and just try to build these positive relationships. Or do you ever think, hey, maybe in the future I do take on like a minority stake investor with us? How do you think about that now?
Yeah, so like Shark Tank, we'll see in the upcoming couple seasons. You might see us on it. We'll see.
Oh,
we'll
wow.
see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. But you know, to answer your question, so yeah, so 2024 now. 2022 we were in like 5 stores. 2023 we went from 5 to about 120. Right now, about 100 in 2023. Now we're about halfway through the year. We're at 150. By the end of this year, we'll be at 250, and then in about 12 months, so halfway through next year, we'll be probably closer between 500 to 750.
Wow.
And so, but you're absolutely right. You know, the big players, the Walmarts, the Targets, they just say, hey, Costco is a big example of, you know, you're going to give me this, right? You want to be in our store? Awesome. You're going to give me this for this price. That's it. Right. And you're like, well, I can't do that. Sorry. Like that's what it is. Because that's how they run their business, and that's how they make their profit and their margin.
Right.
So definitely we're partnered with like Fresh Time. There's 70 stores, so they're in that middle of the chain. Not humongous, but then we just got the thumbs up. Not everyone knows this. It'll be launching soon. We're gonna be rolling out Whole Foods soon.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of our dream clients that we had on our list when we initially started the company, and so. One of those dream clients is, Whole Foods. And right. So we just got the thumbs up, and they're a big player in the health space, the grocery space. So we're excited for that partnership coming up as well. But, instead of starting in around the country and everywhere.
Perfect. Yeah, that was loud. I did not know that thing get up there. Like, okay, cool. Perfect. Let's get back. We were just sorry guys for the technical difficulties. We were just getting into exactly, plans for expansion for Brothers Nuts into the big retailers. You were just telling us about the Whole Foods deal, and I did want to congratulate you on that. That's amazing. That's really great to hear. I'm excited for you guys. I'm really excited for that. But yes, I cut you off. Do you remember where you're at? We can just keep going.
It was just on the basis of, with these organizations, maybe not starting, let's say an organization has 500 stores, maybe not starting at 500, but starting at 25 or 50, proving yourself, understanding, their market, their stores, and then understanding you and our products, and then going from 25 to 50 to 100, then to 500. And so I think that, that growing slowly together as a partnership is huge, not only in our business, but just in any business. It could be very helpful.
Right. And that's amazing. And I did want to talk about the placement in terms of getting into those big retailers when you are, I was just curious on what does that, the growth projector you guys company has been on, does that come into play when it comes to the big retailers like a Walmart or a Target letting you in there? Do they see that growth projector and you're like, okay, Whole Foods did it, all of these chains have did it, there's probably a chance that we're going to want to add this product to our selection in store?
100%. It's, and then, 100, short answer, 100%. Because then they're like, all right, everyone else doing it. And they're looking at all the data, right? They're looking at all the data. There's the data companies that can see, every single company, every single SKU, every single flavor. All right, they're selling this much a month at this store, whatever that is. They're looking at the data because the data doesn't lie. Numbers don't lie. Right. And so when they're doing that, if I were them, I would be doing this. So I know they're doing it, looking, all right, everywhere else has it, they're selling, they're making money, the store's making money, let's bring that here and, make more money and, help our customers coming through our stores as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, I figured that would be some sort of, there's some sort of analyst on the back end, like, okay, I'm liking how these numbers are showing, and if they're gonna be in these, our competitors essentially, then we're gonna definitely want to have their product in our stores. That's amazing. So with the growth of the company, do you have like a specific flavor, your favorite flavor at this point, in terms of the products?
I do. So like the almonds, crackle cheesy almonds are number one, hands down, almost in, I would say 90% of our stores, that's our number one flavor.
Okay.
But my personal favorite is the spicy basil pumpkin seeds. It's not our number one flavor because not everyone likes spicy, right? So
Right.
I get it why it's not number one, but it's my go-to. If I had one to pick, that's my go-to.
Okay, that's amazing. So we're gonna be getting into the future, like the future plans of how you plan on growing around your business and personally, because a lot of us, that are trying to grow and establish ourselves professionally and personally, out of high school, out of college, people that went the college route, we have our thoughts on the world, and I like to get, kind of elaborate on those and how you plan on moving forward so people can learn from like what you're thinking, how you're thinking, your thought processes, and maybe help them make a more informed decision. But future tense with managing home life and work. How have you managed like growing up? You saw your dad, entrepreneur, like that's amazing. Over multiple chiropractic offices around the United States, like that's amazing. How do you see, like, how did you learn from your parents' ability to manage the professional life as well as be a parent? And what do you think in the future tense, like when you do have kids, if you plan to have kids, how do you see yourself managing that into the future as Brothers Nuts grows and you get more placements and you have this team that you're continually building around you? How did your parents manage it, and how do you plan on managing it going forward as well?
I think it's being transparent with your significant other, your wife, your husband, being transparent with your kids, letting them know, understanding. Like when I was growing up, our dad spoke all across the country, and so he would bring us along. We would have a trip and we go along. We see him speak and we help out. I remember, he wrote a couple books, and I remember helping sell one, some of the books at one of the seminars when I had to be probably 12, 13, 14 years old. But it's being involved, being transparent. Oh man, this is what's going on. Of course, at the time, you really, you understand, but you can't really help, right? Like you're so, but it's that being transparent part is the huge, biggest part. And so that's one thing I know, as I grow and build a family, is being transparent. Let them know what's going on. Let them know what's happening. And so they understand. And then when they're your age, they're like, oh yeah, my dad did, this happened to them. And so it's being transparent, I think, is the biggest part. That's when I was growing up, that's helped me, and something I will apply when I, start building a family as well.
That's huge. I'm big into psychology, like I said, behavioral psychology. Specifically, I take an interest in the family unit, family dynamics as well. I plan on possibly going back to school to get my marriage and family therapist license. We'll see how that goes, but definitely plan on being in the psychology, mental health, like mentorship, self-improvement space, like my entire life. When it comes down to family dynamics, there's, two ways to learn. You could learn from theory and you can learn from experience. And most people have both, especially counselors. Like most counselors actually take a really big liking into human behavior because they've had their own experiences and they've always wondered, they question like human nature, why do we do the things we do? Now, people can go to religion, people can go to philosophy, people can go to, psychological theory. All of them have a lot of, like, everything I found has a very good explanation, as long as you're looking to cross-reference information and kind of see, okay, what seems to be the consistencies between religion, psychology, and philosophy. A lot of them pretty much just build off of each other. Interesting enough. But when it comes to those family dynamics, I speak about those a lot because we're ultimately coming into this world as a blank canvas, and everyone who comes into this world as a blank canvas, they are painted upon, or they are manipulated in a sense of like their being, their psyche, how they think, what they think the normals, like the normal situation of the world is. Like if you grow up in a certain area and you've never traveled, you may think that you are the norm, and that is very dangerous. I found, because I grew up in the inner city Chicago, moved out to the suburbs. I saw both of those. I also went, before I became an adult, I went to Africa. I've been to Europe. I'm actually going back soon. And It's interesting because going to these places, I realize how privileged we are. You know, the most privileged people in the United States, or how do I say this better? The least privileged people in the United States have more privilege than most people in the world, which is very interesting. Like, it is very interesting. It's a big perspective shift, which is why I preach um, not complacency, but gratitude, while also growth. Gratitude and growth are huge. Like, such a big part of life is to realize how blessed you are in the moment. Like, even to be able to strive and grow a company like this, like, that is amazing. And then also the gratitude in the moment is like really huge, but also just looking in the future, like, man, if I'm doing this now, what can I do in the future? How can I impact lives like more? Because ultimately, I think that's what we're here to do. We're here to help each other, impact lives, and do something great, which is why I think your product is so great, because the story behind it and the ability to help people have that healthy snack, and be able to eat healthy, maintain their health in a way that doesn't like have all the artificial preservatives and everything in it. It's really just a great mission overall. That's why I'm fascinated by it. And my dad is a big, he's always liked peanuts and things like this. So I remember being a kid, he's always snacking on those as well. So he'll love it. I'm definitely gonna make sure he gets some as well. But when it comes down to growing in the future, other than the personal side of things. But yes, when we're growing into the future, other than relationally, if we're talking personally, what are some goals you have for yourself? Like, I'm sure you maintain your health pretty well, making sure you stay in shape and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are some personal growth that you have on a personal level, outside of business, outside of the relationship? What are some things that you personally want to be better at, and like thinking of maybe hobbies to get better at, skills that you want to develop as you grow?
Yeah, it would be, gym is a huge part in there 4, 5, 6 days a week. You know, going from, adding 15 to 20 pounds of muscle over, the next, 6 months. And so that, that's a personal goal of mine as well. That's a personal goal, reading and applying, reading, personal development, gaining those skills. Because over the past, I'm 22, over the past 22 years of my life, I've never had, employees. I've never, the only person I had to lead really was, my younger siblings. That's about it. But as we grow and scale on the personal side, I need to become a better leader. And so learning those leadership skills, communication skills, negotiation skills, you name it, bettering those skills so I can apply those not only in my business, but in my personal life as well. Because like I said, having a family, as well, kids of my own in the future, leading them, right? Being a servant leader and leading them in the right direction on whatever it is something that I can learn now and apply in my business, and then, of course, in my family or wherever in the future.
Right. And you're right about that. A lot of the professional stuff ties in with the personal. You have to personally develop in order to do better professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any recommended books for people? Like around leadership, have you read John Maxwell?
I have a couple of his books. Yeah.
He has some good books on it. Do you have any books that you recommend for people just trying to develop in general? Like any good books, whether it's business, personal side?
I would say for mindset wise, both the Relentless book and the Winning book by Tim Grover.
Okay, I know about that one.
Yeah, personal trainer.
I read that one when I was like 13.
Yeah, I write personal trainer for Kobe, LeBron, or LeBron, Michael.
Jordan,
yeah, like some of the greatest athletes of all time. And so I would say those two for like mindset and being like, it's okay to, I'm this way, whatever way you are, it's okay that you're that way, right? And so those two definitely helped over, in my personal side, as well as I would say I just finished Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. I know I mentioned earlier. And that one I really enjoyed because one of the biggest takeaways was with the way how he led, right? How he led his employees, how he led the culture of his company, how he grew his company, but not only in his company, but in his personal life as well. And so I'm like, all right, having this like cult-like following, right? Like every startup from the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, right? That cult-like following, that every startup should be like a cult. And so I'm like, interesting. So like applying that and actually, not maybe in your business, but then just like your family, your friends, whoever you're surrounding yourself with, being in that same mindset of, all right, we're going from point A to point B, and we're all going in the same direction. How do we all get there? How do we row the boat in the same direction?
Right. That's huge. I've looked at the summary of 0 to 1, haven't read it fully yet, but the cult like following was something that really like resonated with me. You hear a lot of people on podcasts talking about that book. It's huge. It seems like to have a cohesive unit when you're starting something great. Like you need a cohesive unit, family wise. You need everyone to be on the same page. That's why you talked about transparency. That transparency and like raising a family. You need it, or else you can't necessarily be on the same page. And people, their intentions get messed up because no one's transparent about what's going on, which is something that everyone can get better at. Sometimes we get so caught up in the day-to-day we forget to communicate what's going on, and then that creates unnecessary confusion or just problems. So definitely can relate there. What about the growth trajectory of the company in terms of where you guys plan on being your planning timelines? Like what timelines do you guys plan on? Because obviously with a company, you have personal goals. I don't know how big you are on the like vision boarding or, just in terms of goals. Like I've always been big into it. I've set like many day-to-day goals, but I always set the big long-term goals so that I can be in accordance with them. So I set 2, 5, and 10. 10 is very far out, but it's just something I like to do to kind of work backwards. How do you look at goal setting for your company and personally?
It's huge. A quote, plan your work, then work your plan. Right? Plan your work, then work your plan. If you don't know where you're going, then how are you going to get there? Right? How are you going to build that plan to get there? And so, with our company, if you look back, 2.5 years ago, there was a plan of growing our online sales, but that's really it. And now planning in the retail space, having a bunch of partners with us, going from 3 stores to 100 stores, 150, 250, and I know by next year being closer to 500 or 750. Planning those work, planning that work, planning our partnerships, putting a list together. Right, these dream 20 clients. Right now it's a dream 22. We have a list of dream 22. It will become a dream 100, but right now it's a dream 22 list, and we're going after these, and we're not going to stop until we get in there. Right, until we get to the right person, we're talking to the right person, and we have an opportunity and shot. And so that's with our company. Right now, growing, scaling, impacting more people is our goal right now. If there's a certain time over the next, 5 years where, a strategic partner comes in, we've had a couple people, come in and be like, hey, I want to invest. Like we've had multiple people, and we're like, not yet, right? We're bootstrapping right now, just doing it organically. But there's, we're in, a stance right now where, just inventory wise, can't keep up with the growth right now, and trying to keep up. We are barely, but it's just learning through that as well. And, planning that growth trajectory is helping us, cash flow analysis. We're doing every, month or so where we're looking, all right, how much cash are we going to need next month? How much, and what do we have coming in? What do we have going out? All right, we're negative. We're going to be negative. Oh, no, we're going to be positive. So looking at that, looking at the data, looking at the numbers is definitely helping. But end goal with, our company is, depending if the right partner comes in, do we partner with them, or do we, that's what we thought, but maybe we acquire. We keep our brand and we acquire other brands and keep growing and partnering on our side.
Yeah, that actually, I never really thought about that. But yeah, you guys have a position to as a growth company that could possibly acquire other companies within and like build that portfolio. That would actually be very interesting. In terms of the sales side of things, what type of planning do you do on that side? Because I know that obviously, bigger sales such as the sales you guys are doing, the B2B, definitely I would say there's a longer sales cycle, B2B sales, longer sales cycle. But, I'm curious what that looks like in terms of numbers. Because, like with retail sales or any direct consumer sales, which I've done before, it depends on what type of numbers you're going. Starting out, I always tell people like 1%. So like for every 100, you're probably going to get 1% if you're not a good salesperson. You're just starting out. But I know that B2B sales is different, especially with this. Like you can acquire a customer, you do well, and like your reputation builds over time. How's your experience with that been with like how many people you've had to reach out to, build these relationships with in terms of you getting these retail customers, and then also wrap back around. I want to talk about the online sales because you guys started doing online sales, if I'm correct. How's that part of your business growing and changed over time as you got into these retail places?
Yeah, anyone that's listening right now, I would say the biggest part is sales, right? In your company, because without sales, right, the company's not going to stay around too long. If you don't make enough sales, you can't pay your employees, you can't pay the manufacturer, you can't pay your partners, whoever it is, the company's not going to be around long, right? So you can think about, I got to get this in line, I got to get this in line, I got to get this filled. Okay, how much have you sold? Zero. There's a Shark Tank, one of the Shark Tank, she's like, I spent $500,000, I got this trademark, I got this patent, I got this and they're like, okay, great, how much sales? She's like, like 10,000. They're like, you don't even know if people like your product or not. And you just waste, you spend $500,000. And so I would say sales is the biggest part. I rather have the issue of having so much sales. I'm like, man, like what are we doing now? Instead of the other a part of, oh my gosh, I have so much inventory and it's about to expire and I have zero sales. I'd rather be in that first spot. And so sales is, I would say, the biggest part. And that's what we're trying to bring on our team more and more right now is those, part-time, full-time, salespeople, retail reps for us to help grow those sales. And I would say, going back, looping the question back, our success rate, like with the stores. If and we just left a pitch meeting this week, actually, we just landed 11 more stores in the Chicago suburbs. If me and my brother, right, can get in front, right, of the buyer, right? Whoever makes that decision for whichever organization or company, if we can get an in-person meeting with that person, we are 100% right now. We are 100%. There has not been an in-person meeting where me and my brother spoke with, he or she for, 15, 30, 45 minutes, whatever it is. We are 100%. I can think of 5 stores off the top of my head that we've got, 100% success rate if we can just get in person.
If you just get in person and you get past, because everyone thinks of sales as like that's the big thing with the 100% sales rate. You know how there's the different flows, like how the lead process, basically how a lead flows in. You have like the first contact, and then you have the appointment scheduling, and then you finally get to close when you finally get in person and you're actually able to present. I love that because you like, okay, I worked this lead and finally about to talk to me, and then it's like, oh, it's done. I know my business. I know, what value we can provide, and it's done. I love that. That's actually great. 100% to close when you get in person and speak to someone.
And that's the whole thing. Getting to that point is it's all the work, right? That's finding the right person, emailing the right person, reaching out. The huge part. But yeah, if we can get in person, we got a very, very good chance. But it's actually getting in person with that person, because a lot of times they'll try to just push you off, over email or over the phone before. But it's we got to get in person. And then to wrap back, D2C, direct to consumer. That's how we started the company, right? Just on our website, some sales here and there, not much at all. But that's how we started. We still, 100% have our website that we do, that we've grown, but not to the level that we want, because it doesn't matter what's going on around you in the world. If you have your D2C, right, humming along, producing X amount a month, that's very, very, very nice. Because on top of it, your margins are way higher, and then on top, you have all the data, right? You know who bought, their email, their phone number, where they live, and so then you can be like, all right, everyone's ordering from Illinois. Let's target this market more. But on the retail side, it's a little harder to get that data because the store has the data, but not necessarily us.
Mm-hmm. And building relationships with retailers, I'm sure in the future helps you get more data. They're more likely to give you that data and help you grow, as well as because you grow and helps them grow. So that's huge. Loved when you hit on the sales portion because definitely very important. You definitely would much rather have too much order volume than not enough order volume and wasting money on a product that expires and things like that. So you hit the nail on the head. And with follow up, your story is built through resilience. So big on the resilience. I know to get retail buyers, like you said, you guys being so young, the company being like, I'm sure that first time of getting in the store, like you told me a story. Could you tell that story again? The first time you guys got in retail, the story of how that happened, because it speaks to your life resilience, follow up. How do I make something happen when I might not have heard the yes yet, but I'm just going to keep going and pushing through?
Yeah, so this was probably 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, right after the COVID started, really. So I was a junior in high school, and I was sitting in physics class, and I get a call, or initially I sent an email to the CEO of Fresh Time. Fresh Time is a natural or organic health food chain store, about 70 stores in the Midwest. And I sent an email to the CEO, just asking him, hey, like, you're brand new in the position. I'm a high school student. I'm in the food space. Can I just pick your brain? I want to ask you a couple questions over coffee, tea, wherever you want to meet. I'll be there. Long story short, he emails back saying, sorry, brand new, super busy, great luck. Thanks for your support. And then going to physics class, right? Sitting in physics class in high school, junior year, I get a call. I'm like, oh man, and I look at him, like, I can't take it. I'm supposed to be learning. And so after class, I listen to the voicemail, and it's like, hey, this is a so-and-so from Fresh Time. I was told to reach out to you by the CEO. Honestly, I don't know why I'm supposed to reach out. Give me a call back. I'm like, okay, maybe what's going on here? Call him back after school. Long story short, we get a meeting set up in their office. We go in, we pitch them, we land them. Again, 100% success rate when we get in person. And that was in March, April of 2020. And they said, yeah, let's bring you in a couple stores, see how it does. We're like, awesome, let's go. We're ready. We didn't get into our first store for another year, 14 months later. But there was, following up all throughout. It was a huge part. And not just your basic, hey, John, it's Caleb following up. Where are we? That doesn't work. It just makes them mad, and it just pushes you off longer. Being very creative with your follow-up, being very specific with your follow-up is huge. We can talk about that, a little bit more. But so going back, Fresh Time took about 12, 14 months just to land one store. But following up, and then the one store turned into 3 stores over the next 3 months, and then it just went from there to all 70.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story, because the resilience, going from not knowing if you're going to get a response to hearing from them to pitching them and getting a yes, but then still doing a COVID and the hecticness of that, pushing it out 12, 14 months to even get in the store. Resilience,
And the biggest part is no one else does that, right? I'm going to be I reached out to CEO not to get in their store. I just really just wanted to talk to him and pick his brain. But, it ended up in that, which very blessed and, grateful for. But no one else does that, right? People think, think inside the box. And then people think outside the box. Think like there is no box. That's the biggest part. Do something different. Going back to our conversation, separate yourself. Do something that no one else is doing. And that's what we did in that instance to land that client.
Right. And I do want to ask a few more questions. One is specifically, what did you mean around the follow-up? Being unique with the follow-up, because I know that if there's anyone talking about sales, and in general life is sales, you're selling yourself in any situation. I want to know, what did you mean on the sense of being unique with that follow-up, just so people can really understand, because I think that sales translates to almost everything we do, and I really want you to hit on that, because I feel you were getting at something really good there.
Yeah, it's like I said, the basic follow-up, the easy follow-up does not work. They know it's easy. I had someone message me on LinkedIn, and she runs a marketing agency company, and she personally, a private message me on LinkedIn hey, Caleb, blah 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 blah, let's meet, or let's talk. You can tell it's pretty obvious. It's just copy paste, change the name. I'm like, and I don't think I answered. And then 12 hours later, another message from her. And then I think it was 36 hours later, another message from her. I'm like, okay. And they were all hey, following up on that last message, super basic, not personalized. And so I messaged back. I'm like, So, you wanted to do my marketing, but this is your follow-up, and you messaged me 3 times on a, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Why would I let you do my marketing? Because this clearly doesn't work. Of course, she didn't answer after that. And so I didn't mean to be mean there. I'm just saying, how would I let you do my marketing when that was your marketing? That doesn't work. So being specific with the follow-up, for example, with one of our fresh time clients, our buyer, one of the main guys over there. We know, we did a bunch of research. We know he's a big soccer fan, right? Huge soccer fan, loves soccer, his specific team. We learned as much as we could about him. So instead of following up, so when we were in those 3 stores, we wanted to launch into more. So instead of just sending an email saying, hey, blah, 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 what we did was we got his favorite soccer team, soccer ball, signed with a couple players, and we got it dropped off with a personalized note saying, hey, so-and-so, we're so excited to launch into Fresh Time, score a big goal with you guys, hit our goals for the year with you guys, a little bit like that. That's the follow-up we did. It cost us, $100, $150, nothing much, definitely more than an email. But then, right away, they're like, yeah, let's go. And then the progress gets moving. And so it's just something like that. Or instead of, like with Whole Foods, instead of just emailing her, stopping by, hey, where are we at with the paperwork, stuff like that. Instead, we're dropping by, specialized note with a new flavor. Hey, we need your thoughts. We need your thoughts. We want your thoughts. We're looking to go in production. Let us know. That's our follow-up. Instead of, or we got new packaging. Here's a new packaging. What's your thoughts? Let us know. Here's an article we read about Whole Foods. We love that you're expanding into these new states. What can we do? Not just, hey, so-and-so, we're ready to go. What can we do? It's being that specific, tailored follow-up to whoever it is really separates yourself and actually pushes you through, to the finish line.
And I'm glad you elaborated on that, because non-specific and just general templated work doesn't work. Like, it doesn't, especially the follow-up. I mean, being very unique and not using templates. I mean, let's be honest, all marketing works to an extent. You have a percentage. So like, let's just say you did use 1,000 templated messages. Okay, maybe you're gonna get a good 10 to respond. The quality leads, maybe not the quality ones, but we talking like just big level, yeah, okay. But I love the route you took. You turned into the personalized, the extra work, the little work that it took to research and just go do that. Yes, it costs more, but it's more effective. It really, really is. And I can relate to that. Back when I was doing marketing for this did marketing for doctors. Didn't like it. Did not like it as much as I thought I would, but did marketing for doctors, and how I did the exact same thing, but I did personalized emails more, and just did like a deep dive into them and really just make sure that I understand who they were on the other side. And I wasn't just trying to send something very like generic and like, hey, I like what you're doing. I can send that to anyone. So yeah, that's huge. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you being a guest on today's podcast. We definitely got more specific, but I really like that, because that sales, what you talked about, that can be used in finding a mentor. That can be used in everything, finding, maybe there's this girl you like and you want to get with her, and you want to make sure that you know more about her so that you can like impress her more. She may not like roses. She may like, I don't know, but
you were real quick 10-second story.
Yeah.
The girlfriend I've been, we just 4 years together.
Wow. Congrats.
And I met her, and I heard her talking about The Bachelor, right? The show The Bachelor. I had no idea really what it was, never watched it, but I knew she watched, right? So I literally spent like 30 minutes, maybe not even, probably 15 minutes. I watched like a couple clips or something before, and this was back in senior year of high school. And then when we were sitting at the same table in class, she was like, she brought it up or talking with someone. I was like, oh yeah, I threw in some whatever I knew, that I learned real quickly. And so like you just said, sales is everything. And just being caring and taking that little bit of extra effort goes a huge way. Your life speaks to it, the resilience and things you've been able to accomplish and continue going forward. Man, I appreciate you being on today's episode. This is great. Definitely, guys, tell them where to follow you at, man. I definitely want to make sure your company and your personal social media, you shout those out really quick. Yeah, I would say, Brothers Nuts everywhere, brothersnuts.com, Brothers Nuts, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. it's Brothers Nuts. And then me personally, Caleb Majors, usually in Instagram and LinkedIn are my two heavy platforms I use.
Perfect. I'll link all those in the description. You guys go follow them.